30 people here, but that's easy
There
up.
he is.
Karl, here he is.
Oh, look at him.
Boys, I was having so much fun on the gym floor, I didn't realise what the time was.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, oh, lucky bloody remote. He's like, man, are you on a webinar? I was
Time
like,
to chat.
And we got Woody today as well. Where's
No,
he?
oh yeah. Well, he unfortunately had to drop out last minute. But
Oh, the wood.
yes, it'll be just us right now. We're gonna go live. You just got in time, Karl. Just got in time. How's it feel to be number one? How is it feeling to be back kind of now? There's a couple things back. You got football back. How does that feel? You got the gyms opening up. How are we feeling?
well, I can't speak for anyone else, but I'm fucking pumped about it.
Oh, then you just need to speak for all of us, mate. That's exactly how we
We're
feel.
back, baby.
It's like to go back to connect with people again, to do what you love. Fuck, I've missed
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't go through another week of doing online sessions, boys. I was going a little bit insane, either talking to a screen or trying to coach somebody to a camera. Like it was, just not the same as getting back in there. So we're up and about. I know.
Absolutely. And I think it's like two sides to it, right? Both parties, as in the coaches / PTs, realize something, and the members and athletes realize something. The coaches and PTs realize that for those of us who had the vision and dream of actually being face to face with people and owning a physical location, nothing replaces it. Nothing is the same. Doesn't matter how many state of the art technology cameras you got in your house and TV screens and stuff like that to capture every single angle or get the best audio quality or whatever bullshit. And I think the athletes and members also understood there's only so many fucking ways you can do a push-up for so long before you just get the fuck over it and want to get back under a bar. Nothing's going to replace just heavy fucking weights and jacking steel, you know? So it's just happy to be back.
Damn, son.
Well played. I like that.
That should be like a poster or like the intro to all these gyms reopening right there. Oh. Anybody else got something that they just want to get off their chest a little bit? How they feeling?
Oh, it's good to see all these great faces again. I've already been told that my hair looks terrible and my beard looks terrible by Alex, but like it's good to see all your good faces again.
Thanks, Ned. Appreciate it.
Where's your slug gone?
Well, I found some bolognese from about 4 days ago on Sunday, so I decided it was probably time to get rid of it, mate. And Brad Pitt was starting to look better looking than me, so I can't have that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Fair enough.
Guys, I want to keep this to like a tighter 1 hour because we're all much busier now. We all got more stuff to do now, so I want to be more respectful of your time, and I know you guys got more stuff to do. So I kind of want to hit on the main points right here, and that is, look, in the 2011, we had the NFL lockout, and we had, I don't know if any of you remember, we had a pretty big spike in Achilles tendon ruptures, and I think history can repeat itself in many ways in situations and scenarios like this, where you get months and months of layoffs. Athletes, especially professional athletes, aren't doing the physical prep work that they need to prepare for sport, to prepare for the volumes and loads accordingly. How do you guys think athletes should prepare right now, if they haven't done anything, to cope with the loads and the trainings that they're going to be having to do now post-COVID?
Yeah, I'll kick off if you want to. Well, first of all, I'll give a quick little plug here. I've brought along Bell today. I know we talked about it when we were off air before, but now we're live. So we've got Bell down today, one of our coaches here at PEAQ, and our nutritionist as well. So get around AB Performance Nutrition on Instagram. I thought we'd bring her down. She's one of the superstars coming through, AFLW nutritionist as well. But I think, look, as you can see, all around the world, people are already starting to experience it. I think the Athletes Authority boys hit the nail on the head with a video a couple of weeks back in regards to just earning your right to be able to sprint again. That's the number one thing. I think in that video, Lockie talked about one of the first programs they saw their athletes come in with was it like 6 sets of 60-meter sprints or something along those lines, flat out of the blocks. Like just taking a progressive approach. I know that there's going to be people that are chomping at the bit, but just try to utilise that quick little simple and easy sort of 10 to 15% increase from week to week. I know even now, like we've been open for a couple of weeks in SA. I think local competitions are still maybe a month away. So if you can sort of set yourself, for example, like off the top of my head, I reckon most of your sort of semi-elite athletes each week are going to be hitting roughly like 18 Ks worth of load once you sort of add in 2 training sessions and a game load. Like just that's a very generalized number. There's going to be a lot that are a lot higher than that, and a lot that are a lot lower, and just try to work your way back from there progressively. It's certainly not going to be the perfect build up by any means, and even some of the organisations and institutions in the world that have the most resources, have all the time, that I'm sure would have been able to give their athletes equipment during the break, they're still breaking down as well. So be progressive, start off small, guys, 10 to 15% incremental increases, whether that's in running or lifting loads from week to week, because in 4 weeks' time you're sort of back out on the track. Look, I don't think there's going to be a right or wrong answer at the moment, apart from just don't jump straight in the deep end. I think there's going to be a lot of people that think, shit, I haven't been doing anything for 3 months. You know what I'm going to do now? I want to smash myself for 2 weeks and I'll be ready to go. I'm going to go hard now. And that's when you're going to see people fall in heaps. So maybe, for example, it's going to be people that spend a lot more time recovering and recover just as hard now as well. So eating well, sleeping well, all those other modalities around that as well to try to, I guess, reduce the impact they're going to be feeling as they sort of transition into their first game. So, be progressive if you just want to sum that up and recover well.
Got it. Let's go Ryan, Amir, Karl. That's what I see on my screen, left to right.
Well, pretty much exactly what Sean just said. Like, you just got to take it slow, take it steady. You know, hopefully you've been doing something already, and now it's all about that increase from there. Like, I don't think I could say much better than Sean just said. You just got to slow, steady, keep going.
Got it.
Yeah, I put up a post about this the other day in the lead up to the gym's opening because I deal mostly with strength athletes, strength-board athletes, and also fighters. With regards to the sport athletes or any athlete who's going to get back into their strength training, you want to make sure intensity is fairly low going back into it. You want to be working, if you're thinking about it as an RP sort of concept, you want to be like 6 RP at the moment and bringing things up slowly. Volume needs to be cut at least 50% or thereabouts because there's just not the same, like you said at the start, there's just not the same integrity in soft tissue after this much layoff, especially if they haven't done anything for a while. So there's much more likelihood of a problem with tendons, a problem with ligaments, and also muscle tears and stuff like that, because elasticity qualities aren't the same either. And everything needs to then be brought up very slowly, first by increasing intensity very gradually, and then by increasing volume after that. So that's something that they all need to adhere to, and they got to understand that for the strength athletes out there, the strength is going to be down not just because they've detrained or they've lost muscle, but also because it's a skill. Squatting is a skill, benching is a skill, deadlifting is a skill, and that skill would have decayed over this time. It doesn't take a lot of time for skill to decay, especially certain movements over others. Deadlifts, for example, stay around for much longer. Bench press or overhead pressing decays much faster in terms of skill. So that's going to come back fast as long as they adhere to the right amount of volume, the right amount of intensities. You don't want to be smashing yourself going back into the first session. You're going to be sore for so long. Instead, do less, but jack up the frequency. Do more of it through the week and build it up like that. And then eventually you can morph it into the type of program you're doing beforehand. As far as the sport itself, so for fighters, for example, that we deal with, you definitely want to be going into things much easier if you're doing BJJ or wrestling and stuff like that. The rolls, the wrestles, the spars, they have to be lower in intensity. So the same principle applies. Intensity lower, volume lower, and then just building it up slowly over time. So that's has been our advice to our athletes and our clients since we've been back.
I've got a question, Amir, just more from an interest point of view. Obviously, me and Bell work primarily with sort of like your field and court athletes. So you're talking about sort of footy and so on and so forth. So where I guess a lot of us as S&C coaches are trying to condition them to high velocities and change direction, things like that. Do you see, what are the injury rates you see with sort of your more just strength-based athletes? So obviously you're talking about sort of lifting. I'll be honest, we probably don't have a great deal of those at our facility. Just more from an interest sake. Do you see many injuries in that sense?
Yes, injuries come as they advance and they start to get to weights that are, above national level, for example, getting to world level and stuff like that. There's more likelihood of injuries because as you get stronger, there is no other way to get stronger other than doing more volume. So you have to bring about more wear and tear. And with each extra rep that you do, with each extra set that you do, you have that much more of a risk of exposure to something going wrong. And the other time when injury happens is when they go too hard too early, which is a common thing, just mostly from ego reasons. They just don't want to face the fact that they've got to slow it down and take their time into building into whatever it is that they want to be building in terms of the weights. Because the name of the game in strength sports is literally how much weight you can move, how much you can defy gravity. It is probably a little bit more risky, I would imagine, compared to dealing mostly with, like, say, footy players, where the training is just a means to an end. You're doing it to improve the gameplay. It doesn't matter if they squat 250 kilos, as long as they have a, whatever, say double bodyweight squat, 2.5 times bodyweight squat, or whatever you guys deem necessary for your athletes, that's enough. But for us, it's different. You want a 250 kilo squat now, not tomorrow, now. And so they start to push the envelope a little bit more because that's how they're going to win. That's the measurement of the sport.
No, thanks, mate. That's good.
Easy.
Now, Karl, mate, I've been excited for your passion. A great man.
Let's go.
I didn't sleep last night just because I was that excited to hear you talk, mate.
I might take a bit of a different approach and say probably something that we need to do as a collective in the interest of the betterment of athletes is to probably hold coaches to a higher standard. Now, specifically with layoffs, with less resources available, specifically in women's sport, probably less so in men's, but definitely in women's, you've programming, strength and conditioning programs on field, CrossFit-esque style workouts with no consideration at all to their chronic load and what they can manage in the acute setting. So I would probably say our job is in this interim period, educate the athlete as much as we can in this early stage to say, hey, these are the red flags that you should be aware of. If your coaches are expecting this of you, for example, we got shown a workout of one of the athletes who had to do this before ball work. It was something like 50 burpees, 75 mountain climbers, 100 push-ups, 125 sit-ups, 150 lunges, 175 squats, 200 something, and then work your way back down that ladder again. And that was before skills.
Nice.
Which is like so moronic. It's like you can't defend that kind of stuff.
No.
And that's what is happening at the grassroots level, because there aren't the resources and there's not the education. And then these fucking skills coaches think that's mental toughness training. Mm-hmm. That's not fucking mental toughness training. That's moron training. It's not
resilience training.
Yeah.
Off with your bullshit. It's not that. And so I think we probably go, we need to educate the athletes to know the red flags and to let them know when, they say, look, coach, I'm here for the ball work. I'm not doing this. And they've got to be brave enough to do that, because that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
B, help skills coaches collect the resources and the information that they need to make good decisions. If they want to start doing S&C stuff before a skills session, so be it. But then at least try and make some reasons around that, because I think that is an absolute recipe for disaster, especially when it's under the guise of mental resilience training. Terrible.
What are some of those red flags? I mean, we just mentioned one, an example with, and you guys can all chime in on this. Let's empower the athlete and the client right now. What are the red flags to look out for? One, huge amounts of spikes in volume and intensity, which you mentioned through questionable exercise selection. What else?
Great. Other probably red flags is, does the skills coach or the person giving this advice on face value, should they be given this advice, or are they out of their lane? That's probably another good one. For the same reasons that we're not going to start coordinating ball drills in the gym, because it's simply out of our lane. So if the athlete identifies, hey, the skills coach would never normally do this, but now they are, they're put under the guise of toughness training, or you guys need to be more functional, or it needs to look like rugby or something like that. That would probably be another red flag. So you mentioned, is this a significant change in load over a very short period of time? Massive red flag. And they would probably be the ones I would look out for, Alex.
Got it. Okay. Well, athletes, clients listening, take that and run with it. I mean, we've mentioned kind of we've talked about the athlete specifically, the client specifically, how they can adjust. But I want to bring it back to the coaches. Like, what are some barriers that you guys anticipate to see psychologically with all your different clientele merging back into the gym, beginning back their physical preparation routines, their movement routines, whatever routines they have? Like, what are some of the more psychological, emotional barriers that you guys see that we can curb, that we can make this a more seamless process? Because contextualize it, months of inconsistent training, psychological malaise, stress, ups and downs all across the world. How do we now transition that mental frame and that mental mindset to be more smooth and to introduce them into that healthy routine again?
I'm not too sure about the other states, but now probably in the last sort of, say, fortnight or so, we're actually starting to get some set dates for competition start, which has been a huge help, because prior to that, I think if you're talking about mental state in particular, a lot of athletes were coming through and almost sort of felt like they were training purposelessly.
Yeah.
They didn't know when the end goal was, and to an extent, as a coach, we had a sort of rough idea of when we thought it might go back, if it was going to go back. Well, there was times there where we thought, maybe they've just put a big line through this year. So you're sort of you're programming towards this sort of rough, blurry end goal. When it comes to your sort of semi and more elite athletes that we do have come through, they're certainly a lot easier to be able to transition through this phase, and they'll flick the switch pretty readily. I think we've had a pretty good response in regards to, all right, now we've got our goal in mind. We've sort of been doing this to this point. Now we're just going to slightly modify it to make sure that we're achieving those physiological outcomes at the right time. We're probably finding, for example, some of your more grassroots level, and again, this is going to come with continued education and try to push through. But one of the barriers I think that might pop up there, and it's probably a result of what we were just talking about before. So say, for example, you do have one of those coaches who's going out and smashing their athlete out at your local footy club on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. They're resulting in a fair bit of DOMs and soreness from that, and then neglecting their gym training as a compensation. So they're saying, oh, you know what, I don't want to come in and do my S&C work. I don't want to come through and do any intervention because I'm already so sore. Like, I need to get my body right for Thursday night when we're going to go again. And you sort of end up in this cycle where you're actually neglecting the really strong foundations of what you need to be implementing for the sake of just you're in survival mode because of those coaches out there. So that's probably a barrier. And that, as I said, is going to come with education to say, we know what actually, what you need to be prioritising what we're providing with you here, as opposed to just getting smashed every Tuesday and Thursday night. And your prime goal is to just survive and get through your coach's session. So semi-elite and elite, I think is going to be a lot smoother. As you said, it's that less educated, that less professional, that less experienced athlete that you're dealing with, that we're going to have a few more boundaries and hurdles with.
Thank you, Sean. Ryan, you got any?
Yeah, so like in WA, we've been open for ages, to be honest. Well, not ages, but we've been open a fair amount of time. So you guys are just opening up. We've been open maybe a little bit longer than SA guys. So for us, when everyone came back, we were very clear with all the coaching staff, all our guys, and beforehand, it was all about, educating the members on what it's going to be like when they do come back, what it's going to be like now, how this process is going to go. So we blocked out a 12-week kind of process for everyone, being adaptable with that on the floor for different people, because some people were excellent during lockdown, some people a little bit more inconsistent. So being adaptable for those guys, and then being very clear in our communication skills with those guys to make sure that message is getting across really well. That's really helped us in this process, and we've had real good results already in the last 4 weeks coming back from everyone coming back in, even when we didn't really have any dates. Like a lot of our guys are swimmers and stuff like that, so they didn't know when the pools were going to be open. So there was a lot of keeping communication lines open, educating them on this is our plan. We're going to use this time right now to do a lot of stuff that we couldn't do while you're under a lot of load. And then, let's keep going from there and adapt as we go, because everything keeps changing so quickly.
Yeah, much the same. For a lot of our guys, actually a very significant portion who took equipment away and used each other's houses as a central hub, a lot of them have actually continued to train as per normal, and they've actually gotten stronger during the lockdown time. So for them, it's been just business as usual, more or less. But for the others, it's been like you guys suggested, just educating them constantly as we would approach gym's reopening. We had already planned out and gotten a 12-week program ready as an on-ramp program for people who had been doing either nothing or barely anything. Again, going back to that deconditioning factor in all aspects, and getting them back on track for that, to be able to go back to their normal training. But a lot of it comes down to education, and for me, the leadership quality of explaining why something is happening the way it's happening, so people have an understanding, rather than saying this is what you have to do, kind of because I said so, because that's just the way it's going to be. Really explaining to people and educating them as to what happens when you have a layoff, and what do you do when you got to come back, and why do you do it like that, so that you can be back to in even better shape than before, as quickly as possible, as safely as possible. Otherwise, if you don't follow these kind of rules or guidelines, rather, you could potentially set yourself back even more. And then as far as having scheduled competitions, I mean, for you guys, it's great, especially for the athletes and stuff like that. For us, with the powerlifters, it's a little bit sketchy. We don't have any understanding as yet in regards to when comps are going to start running at local level, at least. But it looks like it's around the corner, because from the 1st of July, all contact sports are going to be allowed here. So I would assume that things like competitions can start running. And as soon as we can announce that, then there will be a glimmer of hope for those athletes who function like that, right? A lot of people train because they want to have something to train for, even if they're at a recreational level sport or lifting or whatever. They don't like to train just for the sake of training. And then I guess for the others who train and enjoy training just for the sake of training, it's no problem for them. The gyms are back on, happy days, let's get back to it. And if a comp comes around, a comp comes around. If it doesn't, I'm happy to train anyway.
Got it. Mr. Goodman, do you remember the context of what we're talking, the question?
Yeah, I would probably say that probably most things are going to correct itself now. Now that gyms are back up and running, sport is likely to return. I think the habits, the mental malaise that you spoke about, the stress around the COVID situation is probably going to course correct, because what we know about habits is that once relative brain there, they're hard to really get rid of. And because the environment has now changed.
Karl, could you repeat that last two sentences? Because you kind of broke up a little bit.
What we know about habits is that habits are environment specific. So whilst we had maybe a breakdown of our habits and our routines in COVID and the mental malaise that you spoke about, our environment has changed. And because our environment's changed, the habits and the routines have also changed. So I actually think we're going to course correct without much intervention. For example, it's only literally taken us 2 days. We've had a Monday and a Wednesday as our primary training days, Wednesday morning. And everyone's like, oh, it feels like normal again. You know, people post, it feels like I've got my life back again. And so I think it's probably going to course correct, Alex, by itself, because of the environmental shift that we've all now been exposed to.
Okay, yeah. So just by natural proxy of things going back to normal. But here's a concern I have. I can see everybody is really up and about. We're excited. Their emotionally well-being increased dramatically through, all right, we can get back to our routine. My concern is we have little control unless you'll see where I'm going with this, unless we as a population and community revolt against the decisions being made by people higher up. So we have no control about what a government does and decisions they make directly. As a community, you could argue systemically we can have control. Where I'm going with this is that, let's say in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, 6 months, 12 months, within the next 12 months, this happens again. And governments they get scared. All right, guys, public health is number one. We're going to have to do this again, right? And maybe we do this a couple of times. How do we anticipate that? Do we predict for that? And how do we prepare for it?
I think, if anything, if this is something that is a repeat occurrence, at least now we've got some sort of framework to work off of. Prior to this, in our lifetime, there was nothing that was even close to it. So I remember, I'll be completely honest, in the first hour of this happening, I remember ScoMo came on TV, and I didn't even realise at the time, and my phone was blowing up. And at the time, I just was in the first couple of minutes, couple of hours that we knew exactly what was happening. We had 12 hours to shut down. I remember looking for jobs on Seek. What am I going to do? How am I going to support my family? I've got a small child and a wife to look after. Then when you have the ability to sit back and work through the situation, and obviously adapt the way that we did, and obviously work along with you guys, all the classics, just like everybody else did, hiring out gym equipment and online programming, online sessions, and so on and so forth. At least if this was to happen again, we've got a framework to work off of. Are there things that we could have done better? Absolutely. I'm sure that we'd implement those straight away now. I'm sure there'd be some other innovative things that we'd try to maybe explore and implement now that we have a bit of an understanding of how it all works. But yeah, look, I'd hope, for example, that there's some sort of vaccine letter down the track that we'd never have to experience this again. But certainly, I would feel much more confident going into this a second time if we were. And look, I remember, again, I was relaying back to our last chat. You just have those hard conversations with all the relevant stakeholders. For example, your landlords, your insurance companies, your phone companies, and so on and so forth. And you just put everything back on hold again and just try to, I guess, tread water or float or provide as best service to your community as possible within the limitations. But yeah, look, I think certainly if it was to reoccur, I'd feel a lot better about the situation. I wouldn't necessarily go straight to Seek to figure out what's going on.
Got it. Is that how we all feel?
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
I feel like you probably had a review of what you did well. Like we review anything we kind of do. So like this was no different. We reviewed how we responded, how we went from there, and we've said, okay, that was good. We could have done better. We can do it this way next time. You put those frameworks in place and you start building it out from there. So if it does happen, or some people say when it happens again, you'll have that ability to go, okay, sweet, this plan's in place. Let's go from there.
I know this probably deviates a little bit, but what I find so interesting, I saw a great article the other day, and obviously you have to be very, very careful in the information that you do absorb. This article that I found was saying, I think it was maybe through Fitness Australia or one of those sort of institutions, was saying that, not that we're pumping those guys up at the moment, get around Orphic guys, but a lot of the information that the government are making their decisions on in regards to our industry was based on one outbreak, I think, in Europe. It might have been Italy, for example. There was a Zumba class of 25 people that were boxed into maybe a 30 square foot room or something along those lines. And there was a big dose of cases that came out of that. And that is where all of these decisions are being made. And I'm sure that you guys have seen that probably in SA at the moment, thankfully it has changed now because there was a bit of a lobby against it, but there was a stage there where we were allowed to have 75 people on our gym floor in an open gym in a 24/7 scenario. But if we were to run any sort of structured group training, we were allowed to have 10. So there's a 65 person difference there. So it's quite interesting. I'd hope that there's a little bit more hindsight with the government's decisions moving forward, seeing that probably in Australia we've been able to manage the health and fitness industry pretty well, really, and if anything we're probably cleaner than ever before. But a little deviation there. I just thought it was an interesting.
I think that's actually a real good point because, like, for example, at where I'm at, we're a very small boutique gym. We have no more than like 8 people in the place at once. We've got no more than 8 people getting trained at once. Like. And, that gets quite frustrating when you're getting compared to someone who's like, there's probably less than 10 people in a building that's, according to the square limits could have maybe 20 to 25 and we're still lumped in with like, the rest of the group. So maybe, I don't know how this changes, but if there's any kind of hindsight with that in a government level, that would be freaking great.
And do any of you boys run Zumba classes at all?
Nah, not at all. Well, I sometimes bust out some dance moves, but, like get my maracas out. But it's not like, I'm not doing a class for it. No one's paying to see that shit.
I'd pay to watch you dance, brother.
Oh, here we go. Side business.
Amir.
What I can say is you should never be in a mindset where you are relying on the government to either help you or not help you, to affect you in any particular way. And those people who did suffered the most because they sat there twiddling their thumbs, thinking any day now something's going to change, things are going to get better, or I'm just going to wait on for my government grant or whatever. And a lot of those people are wiped out now, or they're back to zero. A lot of their hard work over the years is gone. So it's, in regards to what you said, like how do we do to I can't remember the exact word they use at the very end, but to basically remedy the situation next time if this happens, it's not about any particular operational thing in of itself. It's about the mindset that you adopt that leads to the change in those operational things to begin with. So for those people who are doing this, who are involved in this industry for fun because they thought they liked training and so they're going to become coaches or personal trainers and that's all that there was to it, they probably are suffering, a lot of them. They're probably wiped out. They're probably doing something else right now. And at the end of the day, and as harsh as this may sound, it is just about survival of the fittest. If you are somebody who's truly built for this, then you will survive it, just like we have. In fact, for us, I don't know how it is for you guys, we came back out of this better than before it. This was a good thing. I welcome the next pandemic, personally.
Yes, I love that mentality.
And you know, like it just comes down to how much. For me, honestly, it's just as simple as that. It just comes down to survival of the fittest. How people figure it out during times, and it comes down to leadership because it trickles down from the leadership. Like, you know, off the back of this, we launched other sister businesses. We launched other extensions of services, which have been welcomed. For example, we began manufacturing equipment, and we started to hire out as part of our online coaching for people who couldn't make it to our gyms. I mean, during the lockdown, couldn't make it to any gym, but now people who just simply live too far away, but they want our brand of coaching in the comfort of their own garage at home. We manufacture our own squat stands that are easily stored away. We give them bars, plates, and their programming, and they do it at home. And now we've come out of that in a better position than we were beforehand. So whoever got into this just for fun because they thought they like doing bicep curls and they're going to count some reps for other people also doing bicep curls, they probably have not lasted or have found it very, very tough. We found it tough, but it was good. It was a good experience. I'm happy for the next pandemic to come around again.
Karl.
Yes, mate.
Karl is frozen. Oh, there he is. No. Whoop.
I'm digesting. I'm probably more similar with Amir on this one. I have loved the fact that it has separated the gyms that are commodities with the gyms that produce something and create something unique. I'm so fucking happy that I don't own an Anytime. And I could have easily owned an Anytime in another world, but I'm so glad that COVID has demonstrated the need for something more purposeful and authentic than a weight stack and a 24/7 gym. I'm really grateful for that because fuck me dead. Like, I've never ever had more fun in the past 2 days owning a gym than these last 2 days. Yeah. Honestly, better than when I first opened it. Better when I moved into that. I've never fun and I've never been more appreciative of the people in my facility, and I'm so glad that they see that too. No, we've never had booked out classes all throughout the week. We've never had full capacity for every single session ever. We've had that, and the fucking buzz is unreal. So I'm kind of, for the gym owners and the coaches who want to create something that isn't commoditized and isn't just a gym membership, I think this has been an incredible experience for us. For those that had commodity services like your Crunch Fitnesses, $9.97 a week, your Plus Fitnesses, your Anytime Fitness, people have realized that they can do that at home. People have realized that they can get that at home. Because you walk into a Plus Fitness, you don't speak to anyone. You put your headphones in, and then you train, and then you leave. You know, now we offer that, and I'm sure you guys are all the same. And what COVID's been able to do is to highlight that element of what we do. I'm fucking thankful for it, to be honest. So, like, I'm with Amir. Bring on the next fucking one, because that's going to cut some more fucking fat away. We'll trim it up even more, and we'll lean out even more, and we'll get more efficient, and we'll optimize more. So, yeah, fuck it. I'm stoked for it. Same with Amir. I've got a whole ton of equipment that we're now, as Amir does, providing as part of our athlete development program for any reason that an athlete can't make sessions. So if you would like to come 3 times, or if you're on a 3-day program but you can't make 3 days, and that would otherwise be an objection to not join the program, that would be a reason why we'd have to objection handle. Well, that's not a problem. You do 2 sessions here. There is your gear for session 3. Go and do that at home. Send the video feedback, and we'll coach you.
That's brilliant.
Right. Work.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for it. On your other point of, look, we don't have a lot of control. I don't think anyone who was under the illusion we ever had a lot of control,
Yeah.
we have a lot of fucking control anyway. You know, we're the fucking peasants. We've got no fucking control regardless of big government, big power, big industry. We're nothing anyway. So I think we can only control our individual perception, our individual mindset around it. And I'm happy.
Yeah, but they say it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. And I think out of all you guys right here, every time I speak to a winner, they have this type of mentality, the winner's mentality, the how you respond mentality. And that's it. One of the last things I wanted to finish off on was amongst all this, we've had a recent kind of interesting change in this whole industry, and that's what's happened or what's happening to CrossFit. And I didn't pay much attention to this because I'm not trying to really worry about what other people are doing. But, you know, as an industry, as a market, I wonder how people boycotting CrossFit now, distancing themselves from it, them potentially losing a market share. Does that come into your thought process in how that could impact individuals in an industry as coaches, or even systemically throughout the whole market in this industry? Is that something just as a thought process? Like, are we thinking about that, or
Can I lead this one? Can I
go.
put thoughts on paper? We can go from there. I understand that the motivation behind the disassociation from CrossFit as a stand for what appeared to be very poor behaviour on Greg Glassman's part.
Yeah.
But I think it was probably very brash from a lot of CrossFit owners who are now de-affiliating and probably haven't considered the long-term second, third, fourth order consequences of walking away from your method. So, for example, CrossFit would be the keyword prefix to gym and suburb for a whole bunch of people, because they look for CrossFit first, they then look for suburb second. And from a keyword search, from a marketing side of things, CrossFit is the linchpin. That's the turnkey solution for a lot of people. They go looking for CrossFit, and I'm in this location, so let me type in Artam. What I think is probably you're going to find from a lot of these disassociated gyms, box gyms, which is now what they are, is they're devoid of a method, they're devoid of a story, they're devoid of a brand, and that's going to have some problems for them, because and it remains to be seen whether it's like CrossFit but it isn't is going to suffice. We don't know if that's going to suffice as a marketing strategy. So I would suggest any box owner who's disassociated, you better get a brand strategy together. You better get a methodology together, because F45 is nothing without F45. Orange Theory is nothing without their heart rate methodology. CrossFit is nothing without CrossFit. It's just bricks and mortar. So I think method, unless you have a method to replace it, a system to replace it, you're going to be in trouble. You won't know about it yet, because all your existing members are coming back to you because they get it, but everyone else who isn't a part of your brand, who still will type in CrossFit, and you won't come up. And if you do come up, you might have licensing issues, and fuck knows what CrossFit's going to do about kind of making sure that you don't use their brand on the website. You get rid of that stuff. When Google does crawls, you no longer show up for CrossFit. Who knows what's going to happen in time? That's going to be a problem. And I think people are way too quick to jump off that. I think you could have easily made a stand, but also said, well, no, we believe in the CrossFit methodology, and what we want is CrossFit as an organization to clean themselves up and to tidy their own room.
See, I personally think
I would have done CrossFit.
Obviously, we're already in a fairly flooded industry as a whole. If you're talking about sort of fitness industry as a whole, if you're talking about strength and conditioning as a niche within that industry, I feel like probably in a sense maybe we're about to be flooded specifically, because I think there's going to be a lot of those de-affiliated gyms that will now start to market themselves or rebrand themselves as strength and conditioning gyms. Is my theory behind it. You get it, obviously, CrossFit coaches, I think, call themselves strength and conditioning coaches. I don't have a great sort of deal of knowledge in regards to, I've never been involved in one, I've never attended one, I've never done any CrossFit course or along those lines, but I sort of feel like that's the take or the pathway that they're going to try to move down to compensate for not having that CrossFit name in it. So whether they obviously just take that branding away from the website and call themselves Strength and Conditioning Port Adelaide or something along those lines, I think that might be a whether we sort of think that's an ethical thing to do or not is a whole other sort of scenario. Because I guess the other thing, and probably I can be guided by you guys as well. Obviously, there's CrossFit accreditation, isn't there? The people that are doing that accreditation, do they have anything else behind them? So are they people who have had Cert 3 and Cert 4s and then transitioned into a CrossFit accreditation? Or is that the first thing they've moved into and now they're de-affiliated? Are they essentially lacking any accreditation at all? I guess there's lots of issues that have come up there. From the guy who sort of sparked the whole scenario, regardless of whatever your beliefs are, I think you just need to have some sort of situational awareness. There's so many people, I think, in this world that I just look at them and go, what are you thinking? Like how did this even become a thing? I'm sure there's millions of people around the world that all have their own opinions about so many different topics. And when you're at the pub on a Saturday night with your mates, when you're a few pints down, look, say whatever you want to, but to be in such a strong role and such a public role, and to sort of be making brash comments and irrational comments, I think is just lacks so much environmental and situational awareness. It just blows my mind. But do you guys have any further information on sort of the accreditation point of view? And do you think that there is going to be a flood of, I guess, strength and conditioning boxes now?
I think there'll probably be a flood of strength conditioning boxes, yeah, because there's already CrossFit gyms marketing themselves as strength and conditioning places. So I don't see why that will change, really.
Right, Ryan, one point on this, though. We shouldn't be marketing ourselves as strength and conditioning gyms either.
No.
Not a solution.
Hold on, repeat that last.
Go back, mate.
I don't think we should be marketing ourselves as strength and conditioning gyms either, because there is no method in strength and conditioning. What does that mean? None of us could agree on a definition of terms, where we could agree on a definition of terms for CrossFit or F45 or Orange. Yeah. So, that's lazy on our part if we're going to mark ourselves as strength conditioning gym. And if that's what they default to, I hope luck's on your side. Because when an athlete will probably type in strength and conditioning gym, and then they turn up to see everyone doing 30 snatches, 30 keeping pull-ups, 30 box jumps, they're out of there.
You'd hope they'll be out of there.
Well, yeah, you'd hope they'd be out there, and that's our job to educate, I guess.
Exactly.
So,
I think what you touch on, and I think that's probably why we default to marketing ourselves as a strength and conditioning gym, because you get people, if you're talking to the general punter, if you're talking to an athlete who doesn't really have too much experience in the industry, when they say, sort of, what do you specialize in, what's your niche, that is, I guess, the go-to. It's the most sort of universally understood. You to say, look, our performance center deals in long-term athlete development. Like, you get to the word long, you say the word long, and people are like, you'll be lost. So you say conditioning, they go, yeah, right. So like sports, it's sort of cool.
It's also our title.
Yeah, absolutely.
We call ourselves strength conditioning coach, but what I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, simply the title is probably going to be insufficient in this current landscape. And if a box who was a CrossFit box now just goes, we're a strength conditioning gym, it's probably going to be insufficient.
So if you own a box out there and you
get the market share they need to stay afloat.
If you own a box and you're watching this team, do not call yourself strength and conditioning.
Oh, well, if you want to, do whatever you want to do.
I'll be happy if you call yourself Metabolic Conditioning 5000 Port Adelaide.
Yeah. Look, I think overall it was a bad move. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction by the people who had the reaction. It wasn't the wrong reaction necessarily.
But it was emotional.
In terms of taking a stand for what they believe in, that's fine. But the way they did it was probably wrong. So they suffered instead of the person who caused the issue. He had to suffer, right? So what they should have probably done was stay put, have some sort of a communication where he has to resign, issue a public apology, and be gone. And CrossFit as an entity would then make it understood that he is no longer part of them. He has nothing to do with them. CrossFit has its own vision and mission, and it's its own person who was being driven by this particular person, and that driver is no longer the driver. We have a different driver. So, in the way they did it, in the sense of so many of them saying we no longer associate with CrossFit and stuff like that. I think it was a very quick knee-jerk reaction that probably wasn't well thought out.
Amir,
but yeah,
can I add to that?
Yeah.
Probably a very convenient option. Now, I speak not as a CrossFitter, so I have no idea, but I'm going to hypothesize for a second here that it's possible that it was seen as a short-term solution, especially given cash flow issues of COVID, to get out of a $20,000 license affiliation cost per year. Because I can imagine that would be a short-term win for them. And they said, I'm just going to de-affiliate so I don't have that type of licensing fee. But I still think long-term, that's a mistake because CrossFit is so ingrained in that person looking for that type of solution. It's going to take time for something to replace what we think CrossFit means. And the everyday Joe Blow, they're still going to type in CrossFit. I'm almost certain of it. And I would want to be a CrossFit gym owner right now because I'm fucking keeping my affiliation and just saying I don't stand and he doesn't represent me.
Yeah.
Because I want to ride the wave of CrossFit all the way into C because it's a strong brand.
Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the mistake that a lot of them made. I mean, even Rogue did it. They just, that's a big contract, man, to just make a decision just like that. I don't know what they're going to do in regards to the CrossFit Games and stuff. I imagine they would rename it and it'll be something else and they'll still run it the same. But that's yet to be seen.
When did they do that? Because I read their statement saying we're not exiting.
What I heard was they're going to honor what's already been planned, and then they're going to basically exit. So what's already been planned for this year or whatever it is, they're going to carry on with it, and then
moving CrossFit from all the gear, or their CrossFit gear or something like that as well. Right. So from what I understood, it was like they're reviewing after the end of the contract, but they said the contract looks like whatever it might. Then there's no guarantee on the new renewal of the contract, and they're removing CrossFit from the.
Yeah. Look, as far as the other thing that we were saying about they call themselves strength and conditioning gyms, it doesn't really matter because it's been happening up to now anyway. There's been plenty of people who are not proficient and are not strength and conditioning coaches or facilities saying they are. Yeah. So nothing really changes. It's just more of the same. And whoever's good is good. Like I was saying before, survival of the fittest. Whoever's good will just stand out, and whoever's not will just fade out. Whatever. That doesn't really.
I'm telling you, if the CEO of Reebok or Rogue are watching, I'm starting a new competition. It's called the Metabolic Conditioning Games. Get excited, guys.
Yeah.
Jump on now. Jump on the wave while it's fresh.
Last thing, and Lockie Wilmot just walked in, so you know what? What's up, Lockie? You're welcome to chime in if you got any thoughts. Last thing, 1 to 2 minutes each. We talked about education. We talked about educating the client, but educating the client and educating the person comes from educating via the coach. And I think a lot of certifications have come away from the pillars of what are needed as a foundation, like the foundations needed to be a personal trainer and coach. What do you guys think fitness education needs to be grounded in or reconnected in?
What about, I've been talking for an hour. Belle, would you like to say anything for a minute or so, mate, or do you want me to go straight into it?
No, you go. I'm happy just listening.
Yeah. Look, and I know it's just going to be a shameless plug for you guys, but just being reconnected in that face-to-face, we're literally talking before we went on about the amount of accreditation out there. One of the most laughable things that I saw during ISO, for example, was, and look, I don't know what institution it was through, but it was like, guys, online only, get your 6-week personal trainer's degree while you're in isolation. So when you come out, you guys can be an accredited personal trainer. I saw all this sort of stuff. So I think that we need to obviously get back to your face-to-face, get your hands dirty in the coaching, obviously, with that married alongside all your theoretical work. I think that's only going to sort of ride the wave of, as Karl was saying before, how much us smaller community gyms now, or facilities or centres, whatever you want to call us, are experiencing massive boom at the moment because people have missed that sense of community. As you said, there's nothing you can do at home in your garage or in your shed that replicates what everybody on this screen can provide. So I think those are the two main things: is grounding back into getting face to face and providing top quality education, not only from a theoretical point of view and a principles, but from a getting your hands dirty, physically coaching somebody, providing cues, practicing your communication skills, practicing your observation skills. That'd be my sort of quick little summary, I reckon. And guess what? Orphic offers all those guys. So anybody today, we're going to sign up for the Orphic Education Cert 3 and 4.
You don't have to do that. It's all good. If they know, they know. Right?
I was just going to say, you need knowledge, you need the practical application of the knowledge, and then you need to know how to communicate with the people. That would be my 3 things. If you can do those 3 things, you're doing pretty well.
And I'm going to jump in. If you want to go deep for an hour on that, we did a great chat with Brett Bartholomew, and he talks about...
That was insane.
Yeah, he goes deep on the communication art of coaching.
Yeah, it was wicked.
So
very good.
Go listen to that. Amir?
I'll say this quick, and then I've just got to jump off, guys. I've just got to get into a meeting.
Oh, good.
But human psychology is the first one. Learning how to communicate with people, connecting, not communicating as in talking, connecting with people, and hands-on experience on an actual gym floor in the field that you want to get good at for an extended period of time, not for 30 hours. And that's, I think, the most important things as far as I'm concerned.
Good man.
Last one.
Gotta go, guys. It was good to meet you again. Once again, it was good to do these
Thank
things.
You for doing this,
I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Done. Enjoy.
See you guys.
See you.
Later, bro.
What I always come back to is the need or desire for expedition of these certificates.
Froze.
Is the big issue that I have.
Okay.
I don't know. I just break up.
You did, but we got it. I got the.
You're back. You're back, baby.
Yeah. What I was saying is my biggest concern is the expedition or the speed at which people want to try and get this certificate 3 done, and certificate 4 for that matter. I don't understand why we're doing anyone a service by trying to promote some expedited 6-week or 9-week course when anyone in the industry and who has stood the test of time certainly doesn't believe that you get the skills and the knowledge required in that short period of time. And that may have worked 10 years ago when me and Lockie got our certification, but it's probably not going to work now. The general knowledge and understanding of the general gym goer is much higher than it used to be. Is much better. We could get away with saying anything 10 years ago, but you can't get away with that type of thing today. So I would always stress that if you want something to stand the test of time, in this case, your career, if you want your career to be purposeful and long enough that you can actually reap the reward, and some of us are only now just doing that as gym owners, it's taken us 10, 12, 14 years to get to this point, then you'd be a fool to think a 4, 6 or 8 week online course is going to be sufficient. It's just simply not going to be. And you only have to look at the stats for confirmation of that. When you've got by far the majority of people who complete a Cert 3, Cert 4, not be in the industry 2 years later, well, the evidence is on the wall. It's really up to us to communicate that, because these guys probably don't know. Like, if you're doing a Cert 3, Cert, you probably don't realise that 80% of trainers will not last more than 2 years. You probably don't know. And even if you do know, you probably think you're going to be the exception. And guess what? You're probably not the exception. You probably got as much of a crack of making this work as anyone else. So I reckon we need to move away from that. I think us as a brand, as our values, we need to stand for the right education, which means we stand against the wrong education. And I think we need to be brave and bold enough to do that and say, sorry, we're not going to stand behind a 6-week course. We don't think it's good enough. That's why ours is 6 to 9 months. I think ours are 9 months, right? That's where we're moving towards.
That's where we're moving.
Yeah, that's where we're moving towards. And we need to stand by that. You know, me and Lockie see bullshit all the time. We saw more bullshit today on Instagram from running a strength.
He's shaking his head. What are you shaking your head at? Hold on. You froze real quick. Hold on. Say it again. From Clean Health, and I'm happy to be on record because I've already fucking called them out. I'm waiting for a reply. Clean Health have released a certificate from Seb Orb, who's done incredible things for his community, and it's a shame Amir's gone, who is now released the world's leading strength and conditioning certification that's never been run before.
That's not even Well, I think I know the one you're talking about.
What the fuck? How can you possibly have the world's leading strength conditioning certification that's on pre-sale for its first ever launch?
Yeah.
Fuck you. That's bullshit. And no one wants to call this out. Oh, fuck, don't rock the boat. Well, fuck the boat. The boat's fucking broken.
Can you take a screenshot of that and send it through? I haven't seen that one advertised yet.
It's popped up in my gram a couple of times. Yeah, I know what you mean.
World's leading strength and conditioning certification. The guy's a fucking powerlifter. It's not strength and conditioning. I doubt he's teaching ESD. I fucking doubt it. I really fucking doubt it.
Look, respect for...
Martin Boucher may be on it. We don't know. That's okay. We don't know that. Well, yeah.
Are you going to be signing up? Are you signing up for it?
Fuck no. Powerlifting certification. I'll sign up.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it's also $300.
Oh,
what world league
bargain? That's a bargain.
It's a bargain. Get it.
Fuck you. This shit.
No, but the only way you fix the boat and change and raise the standards is by not standing for mediocrity. And so respect. You froze there, but you sounded like you said thank you.
The passion is still there.
Yeah, I did. I have made a post. I've asked them, look, surely you shouldn't be borrowing Seb Orb's accolades that he's achieved in other areas and now saying it's a world leading strength and conditioning certification. He may be one of the world's best powerlifters. He may have worked with the world's strongest man, but you don't borrow the fucking world leading and apply it to something that isn't true. It's fucking unethical. And that's Clean Health. That's one of the biggest fucking providers of Cert 3, Cert 4 and personal training education worldwide. Fuck you guys.
Done.
Do you reckon that these organisations and corporations, whether it's the big ones or what we're talking about at the moment, do you reckon they genuinely believe in their product and their service? Do you reckon that they think, you know what, this is brilliant? Or do you reckon they're just like, mate, we're gonna sign up as many of these suckers as possible? Do you reckon it's a genuine mistake, or do you reckon they're just trying to take advantage of the industry?
But I can't make a call on that because I don't know what Dane's motivations are. I honestly don't know, so I can't make a call. I can only hope, knowing that I knew Dane before he was a big dog at Fitness First and Leonard's. I can only hope that his intentions are sound and purposeful. But the marketing tells me a different story, because I don't know how that got through the marketing team and past the board and whatever and landed. I don't even know how Seb wants to stand behind that. How can Seb want to stand behind that? And this is all part of the problem. It's all part of the bullshit facade of this industry that everything's easy. You can be a world-leading strength and conditioning coach for $300 fucking sir. Fuck it. It's bullshit. It's bad. And that's on fucking record. You can release that.
But this is
shit.
how you help change it, by calling guys that you guys aren't small. You guys have a lot to lose, right? So to stand on your own 2 feet like this, and for all of us to do that, there are stakes involved. It's high stakes, but you got to play the game, and if you want to change it.
Yeah, skin in the game. You can only facilitate change with skin in the game.
Exactly. Look, I'm going to leave it there. You guys have been awesome. I really appreciate and love all you guys for doing this continually and helping start these conversations and every time we do this, just raising the bar every time. So it's an honor and pleasure to do this again and again. Thank you guys.
Pleasure.
Mate, thank you. Do it again next time.
Hey, mate.
Let's get back to work. See you guys. Done. Webinar Wednesday. Boom. Here it is. Every Wednesday, we talk to a new coach in this industry, or a set of coaches. This is the third Coaches Roundtable, the third one. So if you guys want to know more, go to orphiceducation.com/webinar-Wednesday, and you're going to see all the past guests, all the upcoming guests we've had, and we will have. We had, for example, Michael Boyle last week, OG in the strength and conditioning game. We've done this 3 times with these guys, including Lachlan Wilmot, who couldn't make it on today, but and Christian Woodford as well, who couldn't make it on today. But if you want to hear our previous conversations with them, then highly recommend you go check the older ones out. We have Durham McInnes, Jacob Toba, Jamie Smith, and Charlie Athanasi from Strength Culture and Core Advantage on next week, which is going to be an amazing conversation. And we're going to keep it going week after week after week. If you guys want to be informed of the next ones, just put your name and email in there, and we'll email you when they're happening. They're on YouTube, they're on Spotify, they're on all podcast platforms, so you can listen to them anytime, anywhere. And if you don't know, if you didn't gather from our conversation, especially at the end, which I really, really respect Karl and Lockie for being able to go on record and stand for something and not be afraid, kind of reminding me of Christian. Christian Woodford is the guy who'll stand on his 2 feet and he'll call out the BS. And imagine if more of us did that. Imagine if we could all work together and we could all stand together against mediocrity, against lies and facades and all the BS that consumes the industry. Not just in the industry, but it's a character trait. Are you willing to stand for what you believe in? Even though you might get backlash, even though you might ruffle some feathers, even though it's going to be uncomfortable. And so that is inspiring to hear and see. And I hope it inspires some of you guys to do the same. I'm Alexander Emanuel. We're Orphic Education. We deliver certificate 3s and 4s in fitness. And we don't even call ourselves, well, in my opinion, I believe we are delivering one of the best certifications. But we didn't just start delivering it. We've been doing it for years, and we're continually refining, revamping, and it's the future is very exciting for what we have. So if you know somebody, or you are somebody who is serious about becoming a personal trainer or strength and conditioning coach, and want to see a long-term future in it, and not just looking for a quick course or a cheap course, and you want to be great rather than good or mediocre, then we might be a good fit for you. See you next week.